Hello everyone, welcome to BIM'in 36th live session. Today, Ataberk Yılmaz will be your host with Ece Çalışkan.
Hello.
Before we move on to our guest, I would like to make some quick reminders for you. Since this is a live broadcast, technical problems may occur during the session. In that case, we kindly ask you not to leave the session as we'll be solving the problem in a very short time. You may ask your questions during the session and we will refer your questions to our guest at the end with your name appearing on the screen. As you can see, today's session will be conducted in English. However, don't be scared, we will add subtitles to it after the session, so you may rewatch it if you think you missed a point. And last but not least, do not forget to subscribe to BIM'in on YouTube, follow on Instagram, and leave a thumbs up if you want to see more live sessions like this. Since this is our first international broadcast, some of our viewers could be new in here. Ece, could you please introduce BIM'in to them?
Thank you, Ataberk. Hi again, my name is Ece Çalışkan. I work as a BIM coordinator at Tasarım Architecture. I am a member of BIM'in platform, which was established 1.5 years ago. BIM'in means BIM elephant in Turkish. Architects, engineers, consultants, academicians, developers. Everyone knows a certain part of BIM, but BIM requires more than this. We say everyone holds a part of the BIM elephant, but no one could see the elephant as a whole. You are not alone in this. Hence, we bring together experts who are members of different professions from the sector. In line with our goal, we organize meetings, workshops, university visits, short documentaries, and live talks. My guest is from MVRDV, one of the most famous architectural offices in the world. MVRDV Associate, Architect and BIM Specialist, María López Calleja. Some of our audience may remember her from Eskişehir BIM Convention 2019. Welcome, Maria.
Hi, welcome. Thank you very much for inviting MVRDV to the BIM talk.
Actually, we thank you for accepting our invitation. Today, we are very excited and happy to welcome you. Can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm working in MVRDV since 2008. And then for the past 7 years, I started to get into BIM and get responsible of the implementation within our company. Especially these days, we realize the collaboration, it's important to have the proper tools. And then I would like to show you a serial of all projects and new projects from MVRDV where you can see which are the potentials and the powerful tools that BIM brings to MVRDV.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you again for accepting our invitation, Maria. Before we move on to our topic, I want to start with a question that is currently occupying the whole world agenda today. I'm talking about the pandemic, of course. I know that Datascape is a complex process and requires a lot of motivation to finish the projects. As far as I know, you as an office really pay attention to the office culture. You arrange meetings, events to increase the social interaction between the colleagues. Thus, you keep the motivation level high all the time. Could you please talk about how this pandemic affected your office culture?
Well, I thought that the best way to explain to all of you, it will be through a movie that we did the past 2 weeks in the office, so you can really see how it's now inside MVRDV. Okay. So Ataberk, if I can share my screen, I will start to show it to everyone.
Before we move on to that, we have actually 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, then. I was going to ask actually, working in MVRDV is a dream of many people. You have been working there for 12 years. In this time, what has changed most in MVRDV?
Well, in a way, we become a bit more professional, the way we have to organize. When I started at MVRDV, we were around 50 employees. We were growing to 70, but now we are 250. We have an office also in China, in Shanghai, another office in France. So we have to also learn ourselves how to organize such a big team. But I still have to say that, and I think most of our colleagues share it, that you still feel in a really good creative atmosphere. Many times as family, we share our lunch table every day, not these days, but we would like to come back to this way of collaboration and integration.
It's the most important thing. Actually.
It must be a great feeling to be that family, part of a family.
Yes, indeed. And we are a global office, so we are colleagues from over the world. That's also really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the create room managers next to MVRDV'yi's presentation room at World Architecture Festival, WAF. And as soon as MVRDV got on stage, the room was occupied with architects, students, media members. The room was full of people, actually. And also the funny thing is, as soon as MVRDV finished the presentation and got off the stage, the room got emptied. Does this popularity or fame put a pressure on you as an office, or you just got used to it?
We enjoy it. Actually, that's the way. It's also the way that we get many applications, people really motivated to join our office. And then this is, in a way, one of the best things to be known, and that the people like the methodology from MVRDV and the way we work and the way we design. And we try to deal with many of the global issues and assess all the different challenges in the most creative way.
We know that MVRDV is a research-driven office. Can you tell us about the teams in MVRDV? Like, is there a design team, research and development group, BIM team, sustainable teams? Like, how are these teams communicated during the project process?
Well, just to quickly explain you, since MVRDV has been growing quite a lot from the past years, in a way we also have divided the teams by typology or by location. So just for example, we have the Asian studio, or we have the German studio, we have also America's studio, also we have an interior studio, but then we have our specialists. We have MVRDV Planet, that is most based in sustainability. And then we have MVRDV Next, that is looking into how to use the scripts and how to use in the smart way all the tools that we have. We also have our BIM specialism. So we have a large amount, around 20 colleagues that has a really good expertise in BIM collaboration, and then they can share it with the rest of the company. This is more or less the way that we are organized. But still, we are always working through different studios for different projects and sharing the knowledge within the office.
Yeah, it's quite important to share the knowledge, because sometimes there are some misunderstandings even with your own teammate. And I mean, working with another team is really hard, actually.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. If you want, we can continue with the presentation. I guess you will start with the video.
Yeah, I would like to. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. No, I think I'm sorry.
No problem.
Yes, the PowerPoint.
Close your Skype, actually.
I think you should be able to see now, right?
Yes. Now we are seeing the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
So, well, this is the main title of the presentation. But this is, well, what I just explained before is like, these days we are working from home, but I wanted to show you like there are hundreds of ghosts inside MVRDV. And for that, our partner and CEO, Inger, she made a really nice movie to show everyone how it's inside MVRDV.
It's interesting. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, MVRDV ghosts. Can't we hear the...
Can you hear it?
No, actually. I think you can share your sound, actually, on Skype too.
Okay, sorry, let me check.
But even from the video, I see that it's so like empty.
Yeah.
Okay. You know how I can share it? Good that you say to everyone that we can have some technical issues.
No problem, no problem.
Could you, do you know how I could share the voice of the video?
Actually, if
sound?
It's on the sharing screen, actually. It's a setting. But if you cannot find, you can also share it as it is. So.
Okay, I see that there's more options.
There must be an option that share your sound, actually.
I just see share a screen.
No problem. Then you can share your screen.
Okay, let me see. Okay, I found it now. Okay, let's see if it works now. Can you hear it now?
Yes.
So this is our main reception.
All the ghosts or MVRDV.
Yeah. In a way, it's sad to see how empty is the office now.
Yes.
Yeah, actually.
But I can see that your screens are
Working.
Yeah, they are working.
And this is nice. Some pictures of the workplaces now from our colleagues.
Wow.
How we use now, the blue room.
Yeah, I know that.
It's our boardroom. Yeah, we also have fitness classes.
So you continue the events even though it's on Zoom call or online?
It's so nice that you organize such activities. I mean,
that's a nice message.
Okay, so well, that was the way I wanted to show you that we keep working smart, we keep collaborating, and I think one of the best examples is our office, but I will also show you a serial of different projects of MVRDV and how we move to BIM collaboration and how our methodology is fitting with BIM. So what is really important for me to explain to everyone is, like, since MVRDV was founded, MVRDV has been fascinated by the data-driven parametric design, which we call it the Datascape. For us, for MVRDV, the design is literally defined by the given parameters, where architects are able to create unexpected forms that most of the times will go beyond this artistic intuition or unknown geometry. So then BIM for MVRDV is the next step in the development of this method. So for us, through BIM, will be possible to design this datascape in a more intelligent manner. But the use of this parametric change engine, in our case, is Revit. I will explain in detail why we choose Revit for it. And we also use in our office Dynamo. So this is just a quick example how we can also make these massive urban planning studies through Dynamo and through Revit. So I would like to explain to everyone what means BIM for MVRDV, and then I will explain with 4 main keys. One is to define it as data, because for us BIM is a datascape model, and we have to understand it as a data-driven or parametric design engine. And for us, all the parameters we will take account in our design will be the noise, the footprint, the daylight, the fire, or the energy. BIM is also for us collaboration. BIM is a collaborative model in the sense that the clients, the local architects, advisors are working together. And even at the internal level in MVRDV, we experience how BIM has been promoting the collaboration among project team members. And BIM is also dynamic. It's a dynamic model in which the building's elements are intelligently connected to each other and will update automatically every related component. And one of the other key components of BIM for us is the simulation. We can simulate and we can assess the design before the construction to understand it better in a really much earlier stage. So these definitions, I would like to try to explain to you, showing, as I said before, a series of older and more recent projects from MVRDV. So let's start with BIM as a datascape model. For us, it's really important to say that central to the belief of MVRDV method is that the design consists of a large degree of quantifiable parameters that influence or even define the architect's work. And then BIM is also a data-driven parametric design engine. And as I said before, the landscape for us will consist of data. For us, well, personally, for me, this is one of the best examples to explain it. I will show you, as I say, all projects. This is from 1999. And I would like to show you which are the parameters I explained here are the ones that were defining the design and this datascape. So the MetaCity data town is a way to study the data through the use of an extreme scenario. What we consider is like we are going to ignore any style or any beauty. We are going to use the parameters, the existing use, the energy, the agriculture, the CO2 or the water, and they will define our design. So I would like you to imagine a city that is only described by data, only described by the parameters define it. So for us, Data Town is a city of 400 by 400 kilometers. And the urban size is more or less 1 hour of traveling in a high-speed train. And the starting point is that the city has to be self-supporting. So every problem that the city has to be solved within its boundaries. So based on all the statistics of the existing use that time in the Netherlands, the city at the end ended with a certain amount of wind energy needed, or the agriculture land, the stacked forest for the compensation, the water reservoirs, or the waste. That's why we end up with this datascape of the different program needed. And then there's another, well, here the information was sorted and gathered in sectors. And at the end, what we wanted to show you is like this method was a key element of MVRDV. It was a data-driven methodology. One of the other examples I want to show you, this is from 2000, is that we imagine a new scenario for the pig farming of the future. So for us, the parameters, the most important ones was the floor area that has to be considered. And the main question was like, how much space do we need for the biological pig farming? So in 1999, 50.2 million of pigs and 50.5 million of people inhabited the Netherlands. The Dutch pigs occupy around 16.4 thousand pig farms in the 1999. So all the pig farms in the Netherlands occupy 75% and were concentrated in the south of the Netherlands. So if we are talking about organic farming, these pig farms will they should be distributed equally in the Netherlands, every 1.6 kilometer more or less. So what we did was to first check which is the average of the square meters that are needed. And you might be surprised, but it's around 664 square meters per pig, because they need all the services for the production. And then we design a basic organic pig farm. And this farm tried to be like a solution for the welfare problem in housing, because the pigs needs more space, and then we try to keep them in a natural groups of size and better facilities and comfort.
Maria, actually, I'm quite surprised with the date. I mean, the first projects you showed were actually made before the BIM concept became widespread. I believe using data, parameters, and producing these projects requires a very forward-thinking approach for an architectural office. Like, how did it start? I really wonder.
Well, that's why I also usually I say that for us, we already have pre-dreams of BIM. Like we were always waiting for kind of these tools and process to come to our hands.
I think being a genius or moving on to time is in the nature of the MVRDV.
Yes, indeed. Okay, well, I just continue just to show you how we stack all the needed farms. And then at the end, what I said before that was occupying like 75% of the area, now is occupying even less than 5% of the Dutch surface. So as you see, that was the Pig City becomes like a three-dimensional datascape of this floor area. And where you were saying 99, but already in 2000, 2003, we were trying to do, not in a really fashion or trendy way, our own scripting software. So in this case, as I said before, we had this pre-BIM dream, and we designed a software which we could build up small objects divided into categories. So we could choose if people, designers or inhabitants or clients wants to have more diversity in the design, if we want to consider how much will be the impact of the construction cost, or when we were studying the light issues or the noise, and then we were doing our own software. And we also did a similar software base to also get the future inhabitants into the process. This is also really important for us. Yeah. So in this case, they were really voting about the communal courtyard.
But they were part of the design, actually.
Yeah, they were really like defining the size of the parcel, choosing the specific landscape. And then when I say was not, nowadays it's a completely different interface, but they could really go to the website, and then they could choose the basic volume and customize it. And then they could also even choose the specific landscape, and they could go to Google Earth and start to see which was the result of this future master plan. Also how they could influence to the neighborhood with their own decisions. And we developed this web tool for that.
It looks like a very democratic process.
Yeah, indeed. It should be always like that. Yeah. These are some of the pictures and the general one. And we were a bit further. This is an open software, the Village Maker. So we had several parameters to take in account. And then we could set the criteria for the design. We can choose which typology, the view, the sunlight, the privacy, price range, location, access. And then we end up with different scenarios of how could be this future vertical village. So through the software, the people could really choose even extreme scenarios. So they could go from the one I'm showing right now, that's the most primitive way to organize it, that is with the default pitched style houses with 0 rotation. And then they could start to get different configurations, allowing some views, single daylight. They could also choose if they wanted to have like 30 minutes of sun in the morning or the afternoon, and get different configurations of what could be this vertical village. And then was an open software people could access to. I think I'm also showing some models that we were showing in this case in Hamburg. But then it's also, we try to apply also for urban scale, and then this was an example that I like it to show because you can also understand how we proceed with this methodology of MVRDV. For us, it's really important, this step story that can give the arguments to define the design. So for example, here, we were in the project in Bordeaux, we were checking which were the existing historic structures. Then we were maxifying to densify it, taking into account the public transport. We extrude all the area, 100 meters, and then we started to apply all the daylight requirements for the master plan. The
Maria, the scale of the projects are changing from a single house to community, then to scale. Today, information modeling is a very hot topic. What do you think about city information modeling and its relation with BIM?
Yeah, that's indeed really important. Also, in a way, facilitates our work. We can be more accurate, we can be more sensitive with the different locations, and nowadays we have to deal with a really difficult context sometimes. So that's really good if we can get the connection. We have in our urban studio, they have softwares like the aracı, city engine, so we can really explore and get the proper information for our designs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, and then that's something that here we provide the natural ventilation, and that was some of the examples I wanted to show you about the Datascape model. But then let's talk about how is the collaboration in BIM. And then for us, it's really important, this process of negotiation. At the end, we need to really deal with the different parties and get the best result of the design. And for that, BIM, this real-time collaboration with the clients, with the advisors, with the experts, is something that can help us to manage the desires of the different parties involved. And yeah, we can confront all these different desires in a really early stage of the project. And what is really important also is, like, at the end, we don't get surprised, because the cost failures can insignificantly be reduced. And then I thought that one of the best examples, one of the best examples of this collaboration, I already showed you inside MVRDV. I would like to show you also a full MVRDV office. And then I think one of the best examples of a collaborative model is our own office, the MVRDV itself. Yeah. Because of the design process that we have, the way that we start, the way that we strongly are research driven, and that the way that we deeply collaborate. So most of you might know, but the MVRDV name comes from our three founders, Vinnie Maas, Nathalie de Vries, and Jacob van Rijs. This was our office full in Rotterdam, also our office in Paris and our office in Shanghai. So we do from master planning, urban design, architecture, landscape design, or interior architecture, and we have different
typologies.
Challenges like infrastructure, mixed-use, residential, offices, cultural, sports, transformation, and we are global. We have like 150 projects around 36 countries in 6 continents, and we like to work in flexible working groups. This is how our office was before this situation, and hopefully we'll be back soon to this. And then I think it's also interesting for the people that is following the broadcast, like in MVRDV, the project managers, the project leaders, the architects, the interns are working all together. So the process is bottom up. And then everybody can bring ideas. For example, the BIM model allows the project leader and the architect or the intern to work together in one model. And this really makes easy to divide the work, and really it stimulates the collaboration and makes the workflow much more efficient. And we like to test. We like to see which are the different possibilities, which are the different design options. And then it's really important to have this data overview that will help us to make a proper decisions about which will be the main directions of the design. And at the end, MVRDV is just one part of the big collaboration. We have different partners in many projects, so not only internally, but also with our partners, the collaboration is really important. So we have projects over all the world. And well, this is a project in the Netherlands, in Almere. This is, for me, also one example before we started with BIM that can show how MVRDV likes to collaborate. And for us in this project, what's really important to take in account the diversity, the cost, the construction. That was the concept of the design. We had 82 independent buildings, 82 different designs. And then one of the nicest parts, we invite other architects to be part of the design. So it was MVRDV plus 25 international architects, from more conceptual to more traditional ones, that will ensure the diversity of our design. We did not have BIM that time. We did not have so many platforms. So we meet all together to discuss it. So here you have clients. We have the 25 different architects that I mentioned to you, also construction team. So we could already take decisions from the design quite early.
It's good to hear that you work as a team rather than establishing a hard hierarchy between the colleagues. Actually.
No, we have to. I think that's the way. And we also know many times we need the expertise from other partners, and then that should be always integrated in our design. These are some of the examples of the result of this diversity in Olympia Quartier. Okay, so I want to explain you how MVRDV got started in BIM. And then I remember we started to get calls already like 7 years ago, like other partners asking, are you already working in BIM? Which software are you using? In that time, that was some of the statistics of the adoption of BIM. And then we were looking into one of the main first questions was like, okay, our partners want to collaborate, but in which kind of software, which is the tool we are going to use? To be honest, we were already confident by using Autodesk products, and we also realized that time that because of the download statistics, Revit was one of the most used softwares. So we were using Revit, we started to use Revit at that moment. And we get some calls, so you can see that we started to get some commissions for being working in BIM by using Revit. But if you see all these outlines of people that was not able to work in Revit, so we only have few people that have the basic skills and the good skills. But then actually what we were needing was something more similar to this diagram, and I'm really happy to say that we envision a future like this one, that we are really into it, because now
sorry to interrupt. I think these graphics are really useful. It gives an idea, especially to those who follow us and want to improve themselves, because mostly they ask, where should I start? This is one of the options.
Yeah. And also, as far as I know, the favorite program of colleagues at MVRDV is Rhino, I guess.
They won't say it in front of me, but
they say it in the video actually.
Well, I have to say Rhino. I also like a lot Rhino, and it's a really user-friendly software. But of course, they also see the potential of Revit. We also have a specialist in Rhino and in Grasshopper, and we still use a lot the potential of these softwares. But every time for example, we have training lessons for our new interns in the office when they see the potential, like when you are not working anymore in 2D, 3D, but already producing your facades, your sections, all the information you can get. They really see how many good things and how much will be improved their design.
I ask this question to know that, do you transfer your Rhino models to a BIM software at the end, or you just finish it with Rhino?
No, well, we usually transfer, or either we import it, but we also work in the conceptual massing environment from Revit. So depends. There's people that is more confident to model complex shapes, for example, in Rhino, but we always import it to Revit if needed. But there's also many colleagues that are already able to be modeling complex geometries directly in Revit.
Thank you.
Okay, well, this is one aspect that was about which software to use. Then it's about how to train your people, how to start it with, how to implement it. And then we are a global office. And then as you might know, there's not really like a global standards on how to proceed. And at the end, BIM is a process also about how to collaborate. So we also create our own BIM protocol so we can establish which are the roles and which are the responsibilities during the life cycle of the project. And then this, I'm really happy to present it and show it to all of you, because I did not show the end date, but we make the press release like 1 week ago, I think. And then will be the opening next year. But our public art depot is already there to see all of you that can visit.
That is one of my favorites, actually, this project.
Nice. Well, it's in a great location because the collection building is realized in the north edge of the Rotterdam Museum Park that was realized by OMA with its Bruiner in 1998, if I'm not mistaken, 94, sorry. And then, well, what we tried is like in order to kind of spur the park, the volume is designed as a compact round volume. So we reduce the footprint. These are some of the images from our render. So with this mirror facade, we could reflect the museum park and the Boymans. And I would like to explain you the process, because what we had at that time was a design team that was formed by the architecture, the installations, the building physics, the structure, the cost, and the security. That was our design team for the depot project. But then the question was like how to create or how to make it work as an engine and create this BIM team. So I will quickly show you, like, we always have different BIM roles. So we have different BIM coordinators for the main disciplines in the project, in this case for the architecture, the structural and installations team. Then we also have other disciplines that needs to integrate and give us inputs about data, that are like the physics building, security, or the cost team. And over all of them, there's always a BIM manager that is taking control and oversees the process. So this is, yeah.
Maria, you mentioned that one of the aspects of BIM is collaboration. Today, it's inevitable to have cooperation of many disciplines in large-scale projects. What are the difficulties that you usually encounter during the collaboration process?
Well, we like difficulties and we like challenges.
We can see that.
Yeah.
It's hard because we work with other disciplines.
Yeah, I have to say that more than difficulties, we have our own preferences. For example, we like the workflow when we talk about a closed BIM. So all the parties are using the same software. That makes easier to exchange files and to have a unique central model. But of course, we have to face situations where maybe other parties are not still in BIM, or they are using different softwares, then we need to go for an open BIM and use IFC files. But still, I would say we have preferences, but we still don't see difficulties. Everything is a challenge that we like to face. And especially when we see like process like the depot, because here you see how was the structural model, the MIP model, the central model, how much information was already included there. I just add this slide because it's also important for people to know, like, you detail it differently, your BIM model regarding the stage that you are working on, and you get many inputs for different parties. It's not only about geometry, it's only about data that has to be included in the BIM model, and then outputs like the sections and all the details that you can really get. The schedules, we love it when you can really organize all the data that you have in your own design, and when you can face the conflicts with the class detections, as you can see here. So you can directly discuss with the structural people or the MIP, which are the conflicts in the project. So this is like a summary in the case of the pod, that we could really get all the different outputs, like the visualizations, the routing details, class detection, MIP or facade from a unique model here. We were doing some scripting also that was also helping and working smart with the facade. This is one of the examples how we faced it and we working on it in our Revit model, how we panelize it, how we can also get the mock-up and the different details of the project. This is one of the pictures. This was in the process. So we can really see how was the designed facade with this gradient to let the visuals between the indoor and the outdoor. Some of the process, how were the renders, how we realize and materialize our ideas. This is the mock-up of the doors. It's really interesting. They really open like the tram doors that they push out and slides. That's the way, because we wanted to keep aligned the entire facade. And then these are the renders, how the construction started, more details that we get it there, how to solve it. And then I'm happy to see that this is how it is nowadays, how it's finalized, and this is one of the last pictures that we published it in Rotterdam. I cannot point it out, but our office is somewhere there in the city. So really glad to share our project.
Mm-hmm.
I found it very innovative to reflect the city or the image to the building, actually.
Yeah. I think at the end, well, it's a way like we don't want it to be, well, there was already a really nice space, a grid location. So we thought that was a way to in a way reflect the beauty of the site. Okay, well, now we were in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, we moved to Denmark. This one of the first projects, I have to say, when we started to work in BIM, other countries, like northern countries, they were a step further than us. So here we were collaborating with ADET in Denmark, and they were already working in BIM. In a way, it was good for us to push to move also to a BIM process. So this was really one of our first models in BIM. So here you could say we still were splitting the model. We could show the structure, the MIP, all the different parties. Here we also integrate, was really important for us to have the client, the future inhabitants there. And these were some of the images. These days we were using the Revit cloud. So we were rendering in the cloud, and it's nice to see how close was to the final images. And then I add this project because I think this is one of the examples I can show you how these days we also deal with the collaboration working from home. Because in Moscow, Russia, we were trying to implement the BIM 360 from Autodesk. So all the parties are working in the cloud, in the platform. Well, the Red 7, we tried to give a new addition to the center of the city that will contribute to the great character that the city of Moscow has. So this is one of the diagrams that shows the location. This I like to show it, that's the kind of the step story of our project. So how we move from the brief, from the program, how do we create the different entrances, views, the sunlight, the corners and the windows, and then we shape our building through these different parameters. In a way, our concept was to keep we were inspired by these silhouettes that goes across the city of Moscow. And this was the result of our project that is now under construction. So I hope you like to see. Yeah. This is an overview of the project stakeholders. So in BIM 360, what we found it easy was to configure and implement. Improves a lot the collaboration because everyone is working in the same model in the cloud, and then increase the productivity and the real-time visibility. It's also nice that how much we can control the access, the project and folder level. The access can be also defined by the company, but the role of the user. The data, that's something that I also like it a lot. Is like many times we have, for example, project managers, they are not much into the software, but tools like the BIM 360, they can really easily check all the data that they need from the model.
Due to coronavirus, everyone has a more interest in BIM 360. For those interested, it can be used free of charge until the end of June, by the way. Do you use BIM 360 in all your BIM projects, or is it just for the this period?
Depends. No, we were using already before this situation. We are using it in different projects. So at the end, really depends, because what we are looking is for this real-time collaboration, and then you need to get the agreement of all the parties. You need to get your partners involved. But we are really moving further in BIM 360. I have to say, when we started at the beginning, we had really IT issues because of connection, VPN to get to the Revit server. Most of these issues about security, safety of the data, in a way, is safe by working in the cloud. So I say this is our future. And here, well, just to show some images, how you can see it in the cloud, the overview of all the deliverables, what I say easily, anyone can really check all the data. We can go through all the states of visibility and the content. This was just to show we also integrate the Dynamo in our scripts that could also help us a lot in the design and how to organize our model. Okay, so I hope you are now convinced that it's a collaborative model, and then I will like to move to more dynamic model. Because for us, we consider and we say that it's a dynamic model because it's more fast and accurate. We see the advantage of have an automatic change management, and as I say, building components are intelligently connected. And at the end, this will give us more space for the design. So I think this is a project that is in a way related to your previous question about Rhino. For example, this was a competition with a really small team that has to be delivered in a really short time. Our colleagues started to model it in Rhino. And you see, we like to have this diversity. Here we wanted to bring different neighborhoods in the same design and building, these collective houses with communal areas. And then the team started it with Rhino. So imagine they had many comments from the client that they need to implement. The team was really small. I think they were maximum 3 people really into the project, and then they have to be submitted it quite soon. So we get them on board into Revit. We ask them, please give us the model. We can bring it to Revit. And then this is just an example of all the comments that you daily get from client. And then we realized that was impossible to update all of them if they wouldn't be working in Revit. That was a way to organize the team to work in the same model and to achieve the proper and the best design. And this was the last one of the images we presented.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually the reason why most of the architectural firms start using BIM. BIM is a very broad concept. Unfortunately, it is perceived just as a Revit and as a dynamic model. But thanks to you, today we have seen many different aspects. Yeah.
And there's more to come. I will.
Thanks.
So, I was working in this project. We have some challenges in this one that I wanted to share, because in this case, we were working with 16 different housing types. We wanted to create a variety of the urban space. And then while we were trying to offer in the quality of a green and intimate village, and then we have each typology that we delivered at the end has to conform this unique master plan area here. This time we had some problems on how to deal with that and how to work and collaborate. So at the end, most of you in a more practical way, you will know that, for example, in Revit, working with groups is quite tedious sometimes, so you have to be careful. And then in this case, we were using the work sets to control who was owning the different elements. So we avoid this moment that you are working in the group mode and then you cannot save because someone else is owning the element. So practical things that was a big challenge, but at the end was really useful for us in terms of how to coordinate the work and the design, and also how to give this variety in a really proper way. These were some examples how we organize it, and then how automatically any change in any typology was automatically updated in the model.
This project really shows why you need a BIM manager, actually.
And then we are still trying to get in having the urban projects. This is the Floriade in Almer. This is a really nice kind of design of blanket, artificial peninsula covered by gardens. So this is our green carpet for the Floriade exposition. And for us, it was interesting to see if we could model it in such a way that everything was linked to that carpet. So in the shape of the carpet of the grid, the whole model could change with this grid. And then we could organize it the main concept was like this rubber band. So you were doing one movement and all the entire gardens collection was moving with this. So this was another example of how we can also place the data and coordinate it.
I think the project interprets the flowers of Netherlands to the project, I guess.
Sure. Indeed. Okay, and then, well, this is the last part, but well, also really interesting one is how BIM works as simulation model. And then just to explain you that, as I said before, we have to get into more and more complex buildings and existing situations. So BIM will help us to simulate and assess the design in an earlier stage through these virtual prototypes that we get. Well, this is one of all the projects that MVRDV had in Rotterdam, the market hall, this sustainable combination of food, leisure, living and parking. So we had several parameters to consider it here. These are some of the views. It's placed in the Wiener Rotter. Well, I think that the year of the opening, 2014, the visitors was much higher amount of we expected. So it's a really successful project, and I think the city of Rotterdam is enjoying it. So we also have an artist that was developing the inside image here, and then you can see the size of the interior is like a football field size, just for you to get an idea. And then on the top you can see the windows of the different apartments and also of the duplexes on the top. These are some of the images of the views and the exterior. And this was also one of the first projects. We also see the potential of having it a BIM model, especially for the construction here, and optimize the design. This is an example of the structure.
Since you mentioned this is the first project you use BIM, how do you compare this project specifically before the projects? The project before this?
Well, now it on one side is like people is more experienced, so we have to deal with less challenges about training the team. I think there are many ways now to solve many of these difficulties. And for example, in this case, we were working in BIM, but it was in a later stage, not as earlier as we would like it. Now we try to keep most of our projects from concept to realization in BIM. And then before was a bit complicated. I think was a mix of not all our partners were already collaborating in BIM, and not all our colleagues were already trained in BIM. In a way, also the software has been improved a lot. I think scripts, softwares that can script like Dynamo is also helping us a lot to speed up the process.
Thank you.
Okay, well, another project to show this simulation, the cultural cluster of Sandam. So here was just to quickly show how we designed this silhouette of the new house in Sandam. These are some of the renders. What was really nice, and I would like to show, is like how much help us to explain this, in a way, complex program to the client and to the different parties. Because all the sections that I'm going to show you, these are coming directly from Revit. So you can really explore the entire building in a really easy way. And then this is a really good tool to really assess the project. I don't know if that will work. I will check it. Well, I think I need to move it here. So we were also using the views. That was really helpful for the parties to check it. I think I can also show you. We could go through the restaurant of different spaces.
This is great for the clients, especially.
I see the essence of the office, actually, the use of color.
Sorry, now I think, oops. Oh, I think it crashes.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Oh, no problem.
No problem.
But indeed, I mean, that time we were using I think it was the 360 degrees, the panoramic views rendering in the cloud. But for already a while, we are using the virtual glasses, and we are having virtual reality sessions that really helps for the BIM meeting. So you really get involved, the client and the other parties, so they could really see how the project is continuing.
This will be much common in the future, especially. I mean, even now, some of our clients started to ask, like, can we see it in 3-dimensional? Yes, we are preparing some renders or animations, but they are not enough now.
Yeah, but I also realize for the people that is a bit afraid of heights, when you are doing a high-rise project, you also need to take care where you are looking to. That's also quite impressive to see the feeling that you get, how much real is. Yeah. Okay, well, this is also a project that is now under construction. I updated today with the latest images. That was really a challenge to deal with. And then, but we are getting a really nice result it's located in Amsterdam. So here I can show you, like, we are like in a business area. We have some program of offices, residencies. We want to give like an urban answer to the neighbor. That's why we are using this reflective facade, but we wanted to give the human scale to the terraces, to the green. So here you can see some of the pictures, and you can see all the different terraces and the variety. These are just some of the examples how we deal, the diagrams about how we deal with the sunlight and the living areas. And this is kind of a scheme or summary made for the BIM process. So here was a mix of the software. So we started the concept design. The team was starting it with Rhino in Grasshopper, but then they asked, please also move this to Revit. That was too complex also to look with all the typologies and the different terraces and the different conditions. So in from the schematic design on, we moved to Revit, and we were using Dynamo to face some of the challenges. These are how we split the architectural model, so the different towers were separated. Usually when we see that the performance of the software is getting lower, we are dealing with heavy files, we need to split it, and then we need to organize it also internally. That was an example to show it. And then it was nice to see all this data that we can get, even of the complexity and the diversity of the program, how we can also deal with the class detection, so we can point out which are the areas that conflicts. And then we were using the scripting, especially we had to face with these shapes that it was really self-expressive, and the pattern. And at the end, the design has to be realized. We need to optimize it. So we also help ourselves with different scripts to do it. I won't go into detail, but then that we were using the way to finding the walls that were creating the valid. Then we create this solid geometry that isolated, and then isolate the outer facade, create this pattern generator that bring us back to this is one of the scripts that bring us back to the Rhino, and we get all the different panels for the facade. This was one of the mock-ups. And you can see how impressive could be this diversity that the terraces are bringing. So these are what I wanted to add yesterday. That's the last images of the valley. So hope you like it. Well, and then I tried to explain why was the 4 keys that I mentioned, that for us BIM is a Datascape model, collaborative model, dynamic model, and simulation model. So I hope you agree most of the points that I mentioned, and well,
exactly.
I hope inspired you, and thank you very much. And I'm looking forward for the questions of the people that is looking to us.
Actually,
yes, I mean,
we have a lot of questions from our audience actually.
Okay. Yeah.
We are now facing a high interest.
Don't want to exceed our time a lot, but yeah, I saw them too. We have many questions. I was just checking them. Maria, thank you very much for your presentation. It was a great and very stimulating presentation, actually. It was very exciting to see MVRDV'yi's Datascape to BIM process. You have explained very well BIM for MVRDV and encouraged me to think, what is BIM for me? Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Actually, thank you again for this very detailed presentation. It was really nice to see an in-depth look into the MVRDV. As I said before, we have a lot of questions from our audience. If you want, we can move on to those.
Sure.
Okay,
Yes.
I can start with the first question. It comes from Merve Nurdoğan. She says, how the pandemic affected the design process? Is it trigger a new understanding of architecture?
How dependent, he's asking, right?
How the pandemic affected the design process? Is it a trigger, I guess, a new understanding of the architecture?
Yes.
Well, what I tried to explain, if I understood correctly the question, what I tried to explain is like we were waiting and we were looking for BIM. And then it's fitting with the methodology of MVRDV, how we like to play with the data, how we like to collaborate. So in a way, it's helping us in the process and it's making it more fluent.
Okay. Okay, maybe we can continue with our next question. Do architects learn software to collect data? You mentioned Datascape at the beginning of your presentation. Like, do architects work in there, or what do they learn to collect data?
Well, I think it's from really different scopes and from different point of views. MVRDV, I don't know if most of you know, but Vinimas, one of our founders, he's also found the Why Factory. So the factory of questions, so why things are doing, and they are doing a really nice and good research. So it's a think tank that we can really collect and we can explore and make the proper questions. As I say, we like to collaborate. So the moment we cannot collect this data, this information in many scopes, not only architecture or which are our requirements, constraints, also about social, how we can deal with the different global issues, also about sustainability, all the information that can help us to confront in the best way all these issues. That's the main goal for MVRDV.
Thank you.
Next question, I guess. What was the biggest challenge MVRDV had to face regarding the BIM?
Well, I'm thinking every day you can have challenges, things to deal with. I think one of the good examples when we have complexity in the designs in the project. For example, the Valley was one of the projects we have to deal with this optimization. So we have to convince and realize our design in a way that could be buildable. And then it was quite, it was quite a big challenge to optimize and create that all these terraces could get the proper panels, that we could also get into budget. So when we go for amazing and impressive designs, that also gets a lot of challenges.
I imagine.
Damla Yiğit is asking, are there any disadvantages for you to combine the advantages of the digital age with architecture? What do you think of architecture in the future? I guess she means like some of the offices really think like sketching is quite important for them. They really give importance to human touch. What do you think? Like, is there any disadvantage of the digital advancement?
Well, we try to combine it. We still sketch it. We still, at least internally, we communicate. We also have a lot of meetings. I think, everything will in a way change. We will try to travel less, to use more all the different platforms that we have, but we like the blue form model. So we keep doing physical models, we keep meeting the entire teams, integrating in the process all the parties. So we see the advantage, we are using it, we see the potentials, but there are things in architecture we cannot give it up. And then there are many things we continue in a way, keeping it in our workflow. but in a more smart way.
Yeah.
I think you have answered this question, but do you design all your projects with BIM? If not, how do you choose the projects to be designed with BIM?
Well, we really don't do a selection. It depends on different situations. Maybe it's not the proper way to say it, but sometimes I'm talking about internal BIM. The moment that within our company we have a big team, or we are working with co-architects, we still are working in BIM. We use Revit, and then we try to collaborate. So it depends if our parties are involved or not on it. But then we are pushing and we are trying to get them on board as much as possible.
Yeah. Elif is asking, you have two projects in the name of Yeni Arka Park and Lagoon City for Turkey. Would you plan to have any other projects to be realized in the future for Turkey?
I hope so. Yeah, I would.
Yeah. If there are more Turkish clients interested in
I think so.
why not?
And I have to say, in the last conference that I was in, sorry if I'm not saying it correct, I was really amazed, and I was glad, happy to see how many people is really experienced also in BIM. I met other speakers with a lot of experience, so we were also exchanging ideas. We were also, in a way, we're asking, when are we going to be collaborating? When are we going to have next project in Turkey? That will be really great for us.
Yeah, it would be great.
Another question is from Damla Yiğit. Stair is one of the most important elements in the MVRDV's design, like the couch, tennis club in Amsterdam. Is there any reason why the stairs are always becoming the standing objects in design?
Well, there was I think it was like 2 years ago when we had the topic of to reach the roofs, and then we were designing and we were building a really nice stair that was reaching the roof of one of the buildings next to the central station. I think, well, could be like something that does not really define as the fact of the stairs, but this way of collaborating and create different spaces. I think at the end, what is really interesting for MVRDV is to study the different typologies and to see how they can be reinvented or transformed, and then how we can get the best for the typology and how to change it. For example, he mentioned the tennis club, but I'm also thinking about the Tianji library that you showed at the beginning. So for us, the library typology, we wanted to show not the way that it was understood, like the carpeted rooms, would you take your books? So we were envisioning a space, a more collective space where people can also be interacting, and then we are more into more media era that people might be just searching in the iPad, which is the book that they wanted to take it. Someone is bringing it, they stay on the stairs. So we are trying to also move forward with many typologies.
Okay. Shukran is asking, you mostly focused on Revit. Which BIM softwares are you used in MVRDV except Revit? You already mentioned you prefer closed BIM, but is there any BIM softwares?
Well, not really. Most of our products are in the Autodesk collection. Depends, if I'm not mistaken, we also use for the class detection Solibri. We used it once, but that was in a way demanded by client. But as I said before, we try to work in closed BIM, and Autodesk was our decision.
Okay, thank you.
The next one actually is a comment rather than a question. Yusuf Akkoyun says, hi, as Dasaibu, Design and Architecture Society, Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt University, we are so happy to see MVRDV here. We see their project as a beneficial inspiration for our students, they say.
Nice.
And moving on to the another question.
Okay. Taberk is asking, on the one hand, it is necessary to keep the parameters very clear. On the other hand, you need to consider a lot of parameters and determine its importance to have a successful design. How do you establish the balance between the parameters? What is your secret? How do you keep the balance?
Well, I think I explained it a bit when I was showing the Datascape, when I was saying that MVRDV is data-driven, and then that at the end, we believe that the geometries, the designs, does not come from intuition or from opinions about beauty. So they should be really established. For us, it's really important that we can really argue our design so that these parameters, these constraints are the ones designing. This is the way to keep strong concepts and to make them also understandable.
I think it's the hardest part to decide, like, which one is more important, which is going to be more dominant. Yeah.
But we are quite trained on that, I have to say. That
yes, starting from 1990s, I can see that.
Okay, the next question from Canan Torun. Some people anticipate that design can be made by defining the right parameters. Others argue that no matter how advanced the technology is, architects will be needed. What's your stance on this? Will there always be a need for human touch for qualified design? I think it's a really good question, by the way.
I think it needs to be a combination, but I think, of course, we are following the different parameters and constraints we have, but then we also need to answer many requests, like the context, the expectations of the future users, and then we always need to give this qualitative approach and design. And we care about our building, so we really follow all the process, how will be all in detail, and we try to get the best design. I don't know if I'm really answering the question, but I think it's the way that we approach it. So at the end, we see it's a combination. The way you solve it, the things that should be argumented to the things that you need to solve. In a way.
Thank you. Mertcan Yılmaz has a question. He's saying there's somehow unexplainable resistance to BIM implementation in many countries. MVRDV works and collaborates with many parties in various countries. How do you deal with these parties, or convince them, or just accept that they are not using BIM? Like, how do you convince?
Depends. In a way, we are quite lucky that we have been collaborating with the same partners for many years or for different projects. But it's true that sometimes we need to, we like to collaborate, and then we collaborate with new teams, new projects, and some of them did not implement it. For us, of course, it's crucial and relevant. But indeed, there are some countries, some areas that they are still not at the level that we are expecting. In that case, we try to find the best workflow, either with different software, so the collaboration is not completely a closed BIM, and we have to face that this is a challenge still nowadays.
Yeah.
One of the last questions. How your firm provide connection with structural department? Which software is preference for structural departments?
Cool. For example, one of our main partners, for example, Arup, we work a lot with them, with Royal Haskoning, Bureau Happold. Then there are many other big firms that they are also using Revit, but it's true that they are also structural companies that they go for other softwares like Tekla. Then we have to find the best workflow and collaborate in an open BIM.
Another question is, what is the status of Netherlands BIM standard? How do you provide data security? And what are your solutions for information corruption? Are there legal solutions? Many people don't want to share their model because they have many families and their office work actually. Like, is there any legal solutions for that? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, usually this is established in the protocol. So then you also, in a way, you fix if the model is going to be really exchanged or not, and then which are the responsibilities of the different parties. In our case, we, as I explained at the beginning, we have our own BIM specialism group, so that we create our own families. And then it's true that, I mean, that's something that is geometry, it's families that you have created, but then depends how it's established in the protocol, if the model will be changed or not. We always have tools, we can export it as IFC, all the information is there, they can keep it working and not sharing. So really depends of the project and the relation established.
Actually, that was our last question, but I have one more question that I believe other students, including me, is also wondering. Do you accept interns at these times?
Well, we have a bunch of interns now, so I have to say, well, for them it's quite special. So because they enter, if I'm not mistaken, in February or mid of February, and then the lockdown started like a month after, or even less time. I think they were only a few weeks between they started and we started to work from home. Well, we try to take care of them and keep them like enjoying of the MVRDV experience. Nowadays, we always have daily calls. We also try to have like drinks calls. So in a way, we also share how we feel. You also see like the fitness classes that we have. So we try to keep them motivating, and especially because they are joining, because they are still learning and they are really eager to learn from MVRDV. We don't have the site to meet in person, but virtually we are really trying to keep this collaboration and the proper training for them. I'm not sure. Of course, we will have more interns, but depends how we started to come back to the different situation and come back to the office.
Of course.
Not clear yet.
Thank you then for this very nice live broadcast. Actually, it was an honor for us to welcome you, host you on BIM'i platform.
Yes. Thank you to our guests and also our audience. By the way, if our guests have more questions, you can send them to BIM'i Instagram account. We will forward your questions to Maria. Yeah, thank you very much, Maria. We had a very nice and stimulating talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. I hope it was inspiring. Thank you very much for everyone, for all the guests that follow it. I will be really glad to try to answer any question. And I hope you keep safe these days. And thank you much for the invitation.
Thank you. And by the way, we would very much like to organize a workshop or other events with MVRDV in the future. It would be great to have something with you. Yeah,
for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
If you don't have anything to add, then that's the end, actually.
I think we came to the end of our broadcast. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow us.
And subscribe also on YouTube.
I'm going to say bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Take care.